Back on the football show, NorthJerseySports.com's original multimedia series talking all things football across North Jersey. This is Season 6, Episode 9, and we are knocking on the doorstep of the playoffs. I am Corey Doviak, being joined by my illustrious panel of North Jersey football insiders, starting with the venerable one. He is Jimmy Avatable. What's going on, Jimmy?
What's up, Cor? Two really good games in the NJIC last week. It sets up a rematch. And, it's Tuesday. I wish we can go there right now and watch the game.
Yeah, well, are you there now? I mean, parking's going to be tough.
Yes, I'm parked at the McDonald's waiting.
We also have with us the head Husky in charge, the grand pioneer as well, which will parlay into our guest this evening, too. But Brian Carr, what's going on, my friend?
Oh, it's great. It's fun, exciting time of year, the playoffs. And, hey, Jimmy, just a comment on that. I did talk to a coach, I won't name his name. We talked about possibly visiting them for a week, spend a week with the coaches, in their whole weekly activity. So we'll have to talk about that maybe for next year. So,
okay.
Yeah, we're into it. I'm into it, But we'll look forward to it next year.
This just in. Brian Carr enjoys high school football. All right.
It gets better and better all the time.
We got a huge show for you tonight. Our guest will be on talking about the big game in the NJIC. Of course, I am referring to Palisades Park Leonia's 28-12 victory over Elmwood Park this past weekend. No, I am kidding. I'm talking about the NJIC championship game coming up on Friday night in Hasbrouck Heights. And the guest this evening will be Rutherford head coach Andy Howell. He's going to help us preview what is to come. Hasbrouck Heights against Rutherford in what should be a classic. These guys are already looking forward to it. We'll get to that shortly. But, Jimmy, let's just start. Any other quick reflections? I mean, maybe a quick minute on what's going on. PowerPoint, Born PowerPoints, United PowerPoints, all of these things. We're a week out from the start, a little bit over a week out from the start of the playoffs, and there's a lot of people who don't know they're going to be playing.
I've done the PowerPoints for close to 30 years, Core, and always had a great handle on it, could figure things out, and limit it at this point to a couple of variables. It's at a point where I don't even want to see it. I don't want to figure it out. Who could be Paramus right now could be in North 2, but if something happens, they can jump to North 1. It's just very complicated, and instead of making things easier, we've gone ahead and made things more difficult. So,
yeah, now
we'll see.
Paramus right now, if the playoffs were to start today, would be the number 1 seed in North 2 Group 3. That is all pretty much predicated on the outcome of Bergenfield's game against Old Tappan on Saturday, because Bergenfield is ahead of, I shouldn't say ahead of. Their northing number is farther north than Bergenfield is further north in their northing number, which means that Bergenfield occupies the 8th spot in North 1, but if Old Tappan were to beat Bergenfield and drop Bergenfield down, that means that Paramus would then assume the northing number to put it into Group 1, into North 1. So instead of being the top seed in North 2, it could be the 2 or 3 seed in North 1. So now you go from having home field advantage all the way through before MetLife Stadium to now, potentially having to go on the road. Is an unforeseen circumstance.
Yeah, like I said, it's very confusing, and I don't, listen, it's a new system. I'm willing to sit back and see how it all shakes out, but it is very confusing compared to the old system, no doubt about it.
You hear that sound, Brian? That's Jimmy Avatable washing his hands of the PowerPoint system.
That's correct.
What are you going to do? It's tough. We're just going to have to sit and wait until Sunday and decide what we're going to end up with. And then on the other side, on a non-public, we're going to have a committee decide. So that's not even, no point. It's going to be people deciding place. So you get all different scenarios. So complicated. We'll just have to hang in there and let the games play it out, and we'll see where everybody ends up. And I'd like the Huskies to make the playoffs. They were in it. I think they lost last week, and that dropped them under the cutoff. So maybe it's next year they'll hit the playoffs for the Huskies.
Yeah. Yes, interesting. And that, Jimmy, the point you make is right. I mean, I do not mean I'm not a naysayer on the new system. It's the first time we're all going through it, trying to be objective about it. There are certain differences that are tough to, and there's other guys who do have a handle on the mathematics. I mean, I'm not a math guy, so I can't. I'm mentally incapable of calculating this type of stuff. Other people, they love it. They dig in. They try to figure out what the Born Power Index is, and for them it adds a little spice to it, I would imagine. So, and we'll sit back, we'll see how it all plays out, and then we'll look back and say, how'd we do? So that's all to come. All right, gentlemen, well, I know you have been looking forward to this all night long here as we talked before we went on the air, as we were setting up to have this distinguished guest join us on the Felician University hotline here. It is our pleasure to welcome in Rutherford head coach Andy Howell. Coach, thanks for joining us here on the football show.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's always an honor to be on the show. I guess this is the third year now, so
yes.
You guys, ever since I started talking to you guys, we've had some we started winning football games, so maybe your luck could rub off on me.
Yes, well, first of all, you are the only guy in Bergen County to feel like there is not a NorthJerseySports.com jinx. Everywhere I go, people say, oh, no, not him again. So it is a pleasure to hear that you welcome this opportunity. There is some talk amongst the panel here that we are going to rename this week of the football show every year the Andy Howell Invitational, because it seems like it's about this time that we have on every year, and for good reason, too, because you are heading into the NJIC final. Now, I would love to ask you some questions, but Brian Carr and Jimmy Avatable have done their homework. They want to get after you, so Brian Carr, the floor is yours, my friend.
Coach, I don't know where to go. There's so many things to talk about. We got to talk about the team, obviously. That would be the most important thing to talk about. We could talk about you later. Why don't you tell us about your star players? We have Johnny Mendez and Lawson Fisher and Kyle Russell. I know you have more players you could talk about. Why don't you just tell us about the kids on the team this year?
Yeah, so I'm pretty fortunate to have a lot of good athletes all over the place. Got some good depth at the skill positions, which was kind of clutch for us this year because we had quite a few injuries. I don't even think we've had a full roster healthy yet for a single game, but we're starting to all put the pieces together, and we're all coming back healthy at the right time. So, we got a lot of different versatile running backs and slot-type players. Like y'all know about Johnny Mendez, obviously. Congratulations to him. He was AOW this week for his performance last week against New Milford with 5 touchdowns. He's a game changer. Everybody knows that. When you put on the tape, the Rutherford tape, first thing you're looking for is where's number 1 and where's he lining up. So, he's a special player and just a great weapon to have. Every time he touches the ball, he could go the distance. So, got to get the ball in his hands. Regan Landrigan is a senior captain. Probably he's our leader. Plays running back, slot, middle linebacker. He was one of those guys that was banged up this year, and he just came back last week for the first time this year. So, or first time since week 2, I should say. He brings a whole other element to our defense, and he's kind of the glue of the defense, keeps everybody together. So we're happy to have him back. Kyle Russell, our quarterback, 2-year starter now, just does a great job of managing the offense and putting the ball where it needs to go and getting the ball into these playmakers' hands. So without him, we probably wouldn't be able to put up the numbers that we have offensively. Probably know about Lawson Fisher as well, first team All-County defensive lineman.
Brian Carr's that's Brian Carr's favorite player in North Jersey. Brian Carr loves him.
So, I think you had him listed as like one of the most underrated players in New Jersey, and he plays with great takeoff. That's probably his greatest asset, is just his his motor and the way he gets off the ball. He's off the ball faster than most of the offensive linemen, just wreaking havoc in the backfield. So, obviously that's another thing you're looking for when you put on the Rutherford tape, where 61 lined up, probably going to run away from him. So, there's a couple guys. Those are a couple of the leaders, the senior leaders for us that have been playing now for 3 plus years, and we're very fortunate. We got a lot of depth. We got a lot of good athletes. We got a pretty solid offensive line. So all the pieces to be successful at high school football.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, Coach, congratulations getting back to the finals, defending champs. You've won 18 games in a row. You're the defending Group 2 state champion. Do you feel that you've flown a little bit under the radar this year? And if you have, has that been motivation that you've used with the team?
Man, I was hoping you weren't going to bring up that win streak. We don't like to talk about that, but I guess it's inevitable. Hopefully there's no jinxing this week, but it's, I think last year we were more under the radar. That was kind of like the team last year. This year it's, you got the bullseye in your chest now. Everybody's gunning for you. What are you going to do? When the calendar came out, or the schedule came out months back, everybody in our league looking that, when they're playing Rutherford, they're circling that at this point,
Right.
So, our team is, it was the first title we've ever won since playoff history, since 1974 or whatever, since they started the playoffs. So, in a way, it's the most unique team in the history of Rutherford football. They've never had to defend a title. So, I think our kids kind of embraced that challenge, and so far so good. They've got the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, but it just shows, and like you said, you have depth. I would imagine that means you have numbers, and it's kind of going against the grain of what's going on here. And also, it was a nice story a couple of years ago when Rutherford was coming back, and then it was a great story last year when Rutherford won the NJIC and won a state sectional title. But I think you've proven now that you're a little bit more than a good team. You're a good program, and you're putting yourself in the category of teams like, the Round Pose, the Old Tapans, the Riverdales, these teams that come back year in and year out. The kids buy in, and you're expected to win. Can you feel that kind of momentum happening, or is that something you don't pay attention to because you got a game on Friday night?
No, of course that's something we're paying attention to. That's the ultimate goal here at our program. Now, I don't know if you could compare us to those teams that you just named.
I'm not saying in a one-on-one matchup. Right.
That is our goal, and that's been our goal since we got here day one, is we want to turn Rutherford into a small school power where we don't have those rebuilding years. It's more of reloading. I mean, you look at Hasbrouck Heights and what they've done. I mean, Nicky Del Caso's been coaching for 33 years, and I think he has one losing season. How do they do it over there? So we kind of want to model what a school like Hasbrouck Heights does, and I think we're on the right track. A couple years ago, it was 2013, we were 2-7. I think we had maybe 16 kids suited up by our last game of the season. Thank goodness we had a talented freshman class that year, because they were able to come up and bail us out. And here we are 5 years later. We're trying to defend a state championship. So at a small school like Rutherford, it's going to be up and down. It's a roller coaster ride. We just want to try to eliminate those down years and rebuilding years, and hopefully be able to be competitive every single year. You got to build a shed.
I mean, I think that's the overwhelming secret to the success of Nick Del Caso.
I'm sorry, I don't have a man shed. I can't offer you that. But
you keep winning games, you're going to get a man shed. I'll even bring the weed killer and the bicycle and the hedge trimmer to help you outfit it properly when you get there. Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, Coach, your two programs, you guys over the last 3 years are 28-1.
You're killing them.
26-2. These are two of the best programs, in Group 1 or Group 2. You guys have been very successful. But you mentioned Nick Del Caso. I have to ask you about your relationship. Coach Adam Bear, and Coach Bear says you remind him of Lou Holtz. Can you tell me about that and more about your relationship with him?
I knew that's where you're going with that Lou Holtz comment there. I think Bear's a lot more Lou Holtz than I am, believe me. He's been telling me how bad they're going to stink every single offseason, and look what they've done. So don't let him try to flip the switch and put that on me. He's the true Lou. He's the true Coach Holtz.
The greatest Lou Holtz quote of all time. Never tell anybody your problems. 90% of the people won't care, and the other 10% are glad you have them. So, all right, Jimmy, where do you want to go next?
Coach, obviously we're big fans of the NJIC tournament style, not only for the teams at the top and the middle, but also the teams at the bottom. Talk to us about, obviously getting to the final last year and winning. How those two very competitive games in the semis and the final helped you, for the playoffs.
Yeah, if you look at our regular season games the last 3 years, our most competitive games were clearly those NJIC games, without a doubt. If you go back to last year, making that comeback up at New Milford, and then the overtime thriller at Heights, and even going back 2 years ago, we lost in a defensive battle to Pompton, which was just a great high school football game, and then kind of grinded it out against Beckton the week after. So right there, you're playing your toughest opponents there at the end of the season when you need to be getting hot, and it's great preparation for the state playoffs. So I would like to believe that those tough games that we play here in week 7 and week 8 kind of help prepare us for a state playoff run. So hopefully we're not going to. Heights is probably one of the best opponents that we'll see all year long. So. If we can scrap through this one, then, hopefully it brings us some confidence and experience, in tight game situations, dealing with adversity and things like that, and being able to grind out a win when it counts,
I'm starting to feel, we've been talking about it for the last couple of years, but I'm starting to feel like the NJIC tournament is, I'm looking at your bracket, and this is another topic that we can get into, too, if the playoffs started today, who you might play. And you look at the other teams in your bracket, Madison, Verona, Hanover Park, Mountain Lakes. For me, like, Rutherford, Hasbrouck Heights is a bigger game than those. I don't, I'm just curious your thoughts. Like, is the NJIC tournament, are we making too much of it, of how great it is? And, I really think it's the model that could be used for high school football going forward. I mean, it's so local and it's so great. I mean, it's the Route 17 corridor. It's Rutherford at Hasbrouck Heights, the originator of Friday Night Lights in North Jersey. I mean, to me, it's just as cool as anything else that happens next. How do you feel?
Well, you definitely got a good argument there. It's a great point. For those of you who were at the Heights championship game last year, I've been coaching 13 years now, I believe, and that was probably the greatest football atmosphere that I've coached in. With as far as crowd goes, and just the competitiveness, and it was a little more to it. Our kids were so amped up for that game because of the proximity of the two towns, and I guess it's kind of like a natural rivalry there with Heights for some reason. Even though we've only played each other twice since like 1981, this will be like the second time.
Yeah.
But I guess these kids have been playing against each other through the junior football program their entire lives.
Right.
And Heights is always a team to beat, and we're always pretty competitive. So I think it kind of stems from there. But back to your point, yes, there is something. It is a great feel playing these two teams. Just the proximity and like the junior football program, like I discussed, and that atmosphere at that championship game was insane last year. And I'm expecting nothing less this Friday night. So obviously the ultimate goal is to win a state championship, but one game at a time, and there's no doubt in my mind that winning that NJIC championship last year, grinding it out in overtime, helped prepare us to win at MetLife Stadium.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm just like, if you look at Group 3, one, again, if the playoffs started today, blah, 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 because the PowerPoint thing is crazy, but Ramapo's the 1, Riverdale is the 2. Now, Ramapo Riverdale in that sectional, quote-unquote, sectional final, is going to be the game that everybody wants to see, and then whoever wins that might play Summit after that. I mean, which game is more important to local high school sports? Is it Ramapo Summit or is it Ramapo Riverdale? To me, it's just the way. I don't understand trying to narrow it down to one state champion, because at some point, I really don't care what's happening in Kingsway or Audubon or Penns Grove, and I'm sure they feel the same way about what's happening up north. Anyway, that's my soapbox. I'm getting off. Go ahead, Brian Carr.
Hey, Coach, I was going to ask you back to, I know you came up through the ranks. You went and played at William-Patterson, my alma mater as well. I was just wondering if you, at William-Patterson, you were number 4 in tackles there all time, I think it was 132. But anyway, can you relate your college, high school experience, captain the football team there at William-Patterson, to today being the coach at Rutherford? What has that done to help you get to where you're at today?
Oh, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that football has made me into who I am today, you know. And of course, I send the same message to our players, you know. You're going to the lessons that you learn on the football field, they can't be matched with anything else in life. You know, and if you ask these kids, and of course we're always going to promote academics and, you know, academics first, but, you know, if you ask these kids, you know, are they learning more lessons in the classroom or out on the football field, I think you know what the answer is going to be. You know what I mean? So I think I took a lot of those life lessons from playing ball at high school and college, and kind of, try to emulate it to our kids. And, from a schematical standpoint, I mean, playing, we run the same exact defense at Rutherford that we did when I was playing in college in William-Patterson. So, you know, just learned so much about the game and got myself around a lot of good football people and kind of picked their brain, and, you know, and just grew as a coach and a person.
A lot of pioneer love in this room tonight.
But wasn't Mike? What's his name? Mike. One guy at Ramapo was coach.
Miele.
Mike
Miele was there.
Yeah.
Talk about him a little bit. Yep. He's a long-time coach in the high school ranks, and he was up there for a few years. Talk about Coach a little bit.
Yeah, Coach was, almost like he was a great role model for me. I only got an opportunity to play for him for only 1 year, but I still keep in touch with him. And obviously, when I see him, it's like nothing's changed. I learned so much from him in a year. You know, I remember being on the committee, on the hiring committee as a player when they're bringing in coaches to interview for the head coach of William-Patterson. There was no doubt that he was our guy right there. We knew that he was going to be the guy to turn that program around. And then he did get the program on the right track and did a lot of good things there in a short tenure. So he's obviously a proven successful coach. I learned so much from him, not only just about football, but just from a managing standpoint, you know, managing a team and organizational things, you know, stuff like that. But, he's a great football mind, and I know if I ever needed any advice or questions, I would definitely be able to call him up for sure.
Yep. He's a good dude for sure. Jimmy, you got something else for the coach?
Yeah, Coach, quick question. You know, let's talk about Hasbrouck Heights a little bit and the challenge that they give you as far as defending their offense. Everyone knows about Josiah Purdy with good reason, one of the big-time players. But if you can, talk about the Robertson kid who came back, the Mike Robertson, the running back, who was injured early and has really done a great job for them, and obviously quarterback Spencer Lee. How difficult it is to defend their weapons.
We've been talking about this all week, actually. Robertson's probably the X factor for Hasbrouck Heights, because you obviously know about Purdy. You're going to game plan for Purdy, and they got another kid, you know, in Robertson who could easily break it at any time. You know, he's got speed. We scrimmaged those guys back in August, and he just absolutely torched us, you know. So obviously they got a lot of talent at the skill positions, so it is going to be a challenge. And if they're going to get the ball to their playmakers out in space, we got to just get as many hats to the ball as possible and just keep them bottled up, you know, because that's the style of football they play. They do a lot of RPOs, a lot of zone reads, like zone read type stuff. So, you know, we got to be able to have our game plan in, and we got to be able to just execute it, you know. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you know, running to the football and tackling defensively. On offense, you got to block, you got to protect the football. There's no secret, you know. That's what wins and loses the football games, you know. So if whoever does that better Friday night is going to be hoisting that trophy.
All right, Bri, you've delved into his college career, his high school coaching career. Is there anything you'd like to ask him about those formative years, maybe from 7 years old to 10?
Schuylkill Haven. What about Schuylkill Haven, Pennsylvania? Hey, Schuylkill Haven, is that where you're from, Andy, right?
Yeah, that's the town. It's a lot different out there. But I went to Blue Mountain High School. So that's the coal region right there.
Where is that, out by Hazleton?
North Jersey. That's south. It's a little south of Hazleton.
All right. As an East Stroudsburg University guy, I'm sure I went to college with somebody from your town. So we got that between us, too.
You would know. You would know him. We got a special breed out there. You would know him.
Yeah, I think I knew a lot of them.
Coach, look forward to seeing you on Friday night. Should be a great game. Should be a lot of fun.
Hey,
two great coaches.
And Brian, one more thing. I think we're very close to possibly having a first-round matchup against your Dumont Huskies.
I hope you don't. I'm sorry to say. I hope you don't. You know.
So I don't know what sideline you would be standing on for that game.
Andy, listen, we like you, and we have Andy Howell Week here on the football show on NorthJerseySports.com, but there is no shot that Brian Carr will even make eye contact with anybody from Rutherford if you are playing Dumont. They'll set up a throne for him behind the Dumont bench, and he will just sit there and lord over all orange that he sees. So you'll lose him for a week if that matchup does happen. Andy Howell, head coach of the Rutherford Bulldogs. The entire NorthJerseySports.com football show panel will be in attendance on Friday night. That means we're going to have pictures, sound, audio. I'm sure even Matt Small will be there as well. So we're going to cover it. We're looking forward to it. We're excited about it. And thank you for joining us here on the football show.
Guys, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
All right, great stuff as expected there with Brian Carr's fellow William Patterson University pioneer, Andy Howell. That was great. And the opponent this week will be Hasbrouck Heights. And, you know, we're paying a little bit of short shrift to the Aviators this week. Brian, I know you were at their game last week, and I know that because you sent in some audio clips that I would like to play. And would you like to take the opportunity to set them up?
Well, first, you always got to go to the coach, right? You want to go to talk to the coach.
I don't know. You have a nice cheer.
Tony, we also have Tony Richardson, the former New York Jet, who gave a cheer. You want to?
Yes. All right, we're going to run that clip. You know, Hasbrouck Heights has become such a big entity. I mean, it's grown out of the basement of the Boulevard Pork Store into this behemoth of a Group 1 football entity, and now they are having professional football players come and lead their cheers at the end of games. Here is Tony Richardson doing just that.
Can anybody beat that Heights here? Hell no! Can anybody beat that Heights here? Hell no! Can anybody beat that Heights here? Hell no! Hey! Hey! Heights on 3, I'm Tony. Heights on 3, 1, 2, 3. Heights!
All right, that was a fun little clip there, Bri. But, you know, the other ones that you have are dealing with the win that Hasbrouck Heights last week. So why don't we talk a little bit about that game first, and then we can drop these in as we go along here.
Both games, the NJIC, both games started with a kickoff return for a touchdown. So the Rutherford game, kickoff scored, and we had the same thing in our game in Heights. So that was Rocco, who he has a long Italian last name, Rocco, who scored the opening touchdown. He was a sophomore. Took us to the house, and that set the tone. You know, Park Ridge played a tough game in the first half. They only give up one more score in the half, so they kind of held Hasbrouck Heights in check. We always felt Heights had the game kind of in control. And then in the second half, they really stepped up, scored a touchdown. Well, first they got a safety, I should say. That was the first big play. Got the safety, and then they got the ball back. And there was a key play on that. We interviewed the quarterback, Spencer Lee, and also Ian Rink. Those two guys were in on this key play because at that time they were on there after the safety. They were on about their own 40, and they were third and long. And the two of them had a nice play. Spencer threw a good ball. Ian had a good catch. And that really was the impetus that took them the rest of the way. And Purdy ended up having a really, really strong TD run. And that pretty much...
Yeah, no, well, Spencer Lee and Ian Ranke, you got the interview. Here it is.
Brian Carr here, Hasbrouck Heights. I'm with Spencer Lee, quarterback. Talk about the game, Spencer.
It was very exciting, very intense. And until first half, we weren't playing to the way we were, but second half, we got it all together and we performed.
Why don't you talk about the opening kickoff, sophomore, Rocco?
That was crazy. That got us all pumped up, and just a change point in the first half.
So what do you think a key play of the game? I got my key play. I asked the coach. What do you think the key play of the game was?
I think it was the throw the rank. I mean, it was the third down?
Third, yeah.
Yeah, and then we ripped it and got it. First down.
That was a key play in the game, yeah. But to get there, so that was a really key play. That's why I wanted to get you two guys. Ian Rink, right? So Ian Rink caught the pass, about a 20-yard pass. But I think the key play led to that. You guys got a safety. Yeah. So you were up 14-0, and then you got the safety, so you got 2 points. Then they had to kick it to you. But key play for you guys, making that play that led to the touchdown. So, and then talk about Purdy. Purdy had a really big run there. I mean, he bulled that in there. I don't know if you saw him. He ran over a guy on the sideline.
Hell of a play.
So tell me about it. It's your first year at quarterback, replacing some really good guys. James Klink. You had, what was his first name? Quattrone, Frankie Quattrone a couple years ago. Seems to be a history here of good quarterbacks at Heights. What do they do? Coach told me it's the junior football program that really helps them. What do you do?
We're also great people. They're great leaders. They care about each other. They all care about each other. All brothers.
Ian, why don't you tell us, what do you think? How was the game? How does it feel to be here? Third year in a row for Hasbrouck Heights going to the final NJIC.
Feels awesome. It's crazy. We weren't really good as a younger team, and we just started coming together as we got older. We started being one, and that's it. We just came to be one.
So will you play much last year? Now that you're going to play, probably likely to play Rutherford. It's not final yet. Did you play much last year against Rutherford?
Yeah, I was a wide receiver and corner last year.
Right. So last year was tough.
Yeah.
You missed the field goal.
Yeah.
Would have won the game in regulation. Go to overtime. What do you think this year now? Paybacks, try to win it?
Yeah.
Beat those guys?
That's all.
It's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
And you're going to play it here.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Big advantage.
It's awesome. It's
going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Atmosphere is going to be crazy. It's going to be a great game.
Good.
It was a great game last year.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. Good luck. Congratulations.
I really think the difference, if you want, when we go back, if you want, the Hasbrouck Heights defense was outstanding, containing, Vinny Pinto. I mean, I remember saying to you guys after the Saddlebrook game in week 1, I'm not sold on Hasbrouck Heights defense, and I tell you what, they've gotten better and better and better, and they played exceptionally well. The offense was a little sluggish, but...
Yep. Jimmy.
The defense gave up 50, 60 points, or 60 yards in the first half. They really shut them down.
Jimmy, I'm surprised you didn't jump in there when Brian said that they was the long Italian last name. I mean, we have a resident expert on long Italian last names. Do you want to...
What the heck is his last name?
Minicello. Minicello is Dad's the defensive coordinator. Yeah, that's the defensive coordinator.
Yes, that is the defensive coordinator. Yep, also Rocco Minicello, who's also been the longtime baseball coach down there at Hasbrouck Heights. All right, speaking of coaches, why don't we get to the aforementioned Nick Del Calzo, the head coach of the Hasbrouck Heights Aviators, talking about the game here with our very own Brian Carr.
Well, I thought we played, we were off for 2 weeks. We played a scrappy team. The kids were a tough team, and being off, we haven't played really in 3 weeks, and we were a little sloppy. But we had a good start to the game. We were a little sloppy, penalties. It's not like us. We can't do that if we're going to win anything.
Is the world a better place when Hasbrouck Heights is in the finals of this playoff?
3 years in a row, Coach.
I'm kind of fortunate, I got, the kids are really good. My staff is great. We did a great job. I thought we defended. The quarterback was he was a tough kid, and I thought we did a great job on him. I thought, we ganged up on him, and we did a lot of good things.
But seriously, what does it mean to the program to get back to the championship game?
It means a lot because, is probably number one, and then your number one is the state championship. We all want that. But right now we're in an opportunity to win a conference championship, whoever we're playing, and that's good. It's an exciting thing. It's a tough thing. I think it's a good thing that started, and you got to play some tough games if you're going to win something.
Likely you're going to play Rutherford. They're up pretty big right now. Likely that's a rematch. You played last year there and lost in overtime.
Well, I've been following them. We scrimmaged them, and they're a very good football team. So we got our work cut out, and make sure we come out healthy and everything else. So we got our work cut out for us.
We'll be back here too this time. Last time was there. This year we'll be here.
Yeah, now we're here. It's nice to be home.
Right.
Yeah, it's nice to be home.
It's like home cooking. You're back at the shed.
No, yeah.
You go to the shed.
Yeah,
it's better at the shed.
Better at the shed.
Let's talk about the opening score.
Well, I
set the tone.
Yeah,
for the game,
I think I thought Dominic D'Amico's runs our special teams with the kickoff, and he saw something on film, and Rocco took it to the house. It was great. We had some great blocks, and we did a great job there. It's a great way to start a game.
Right.
When you play a tough game like that, to go up, and it was a good way to start.
Right. A little bit of a struggle in the first half. You have 14, but you have the bat, and the offense seemed to really gel.
You know what happened? Like I said, we had 2 5-yard penalties to start, and then we had another 5-yard, and really hurt us. We didn't get into the groove. So, but you know what though, you got to hand it to them. They did a great job. They're very scrappy.
Second half, I think a big play was a safety, and that really set the tone.
Yes, I thought so too. Yeah, we set the tone. We were, the kids did a great job, and then we scored after that, which was important.
Right. And the big play on that drive to get that third touchdown is the completion by your quarterback
to Ian Rink.
That was a big play. It was about 20-some yards.
It was a great pass, great play. Hey, they're doubling up on Josiah or whatever, and he just made a great catch and a great throw.
Talk about your running back. Robertson seemed to run very well today. Had the big score.
Yeah, Robertson did an outstanding job. He has the speed to break it and things like that, and takes a little pressure off of Josiah.
So it's pretty significant. I know you said before, third year in a row going to the finals, NJIC. It's only been 3 years. What do you think?
Well, I'm proud of our program to accomplish something like that, to get into the finals, and it's a great experience. It's fun.
I know, Jimmy, this is the tough part of the show for you every week when we leave the NJIC and we leave the friendly confines of the Route 17 corridor. But let's also branch out around North Jersey a little bit. From last week, what else stuck out?
I mean, obviously, if you want to talk about the non-publics, how about Don Bosco going to DePaul and winning 59-28? Was shock to anybody. Not that they necessarily won the game, but they rushed for almost 550 yards in the game. I mean, Jalen Berger, 21 carries, 196 yards, and Kyle Monange, the transfer from Seton Hall Prep, 19 carries for 287 yards and 5 touchdowns. I mean, that's certainly an eye-opener. Unfortunately for DePaul, they lost their All-American, Ronnie Hickman. He's out with a knee injury. And you kind of wonder, is DePaul vulnerable in that non-public Group 3 without Ronnie Hickman? You have Red Bank Catholic, you have a very talented Mater Dei. So I think the gap is closed here. As far as Bosco is concerned, I mean, they have the skilled kids certainly in the backfield that can play with anybody in the state. If they get a little bit more consistent blocking, you have to throw them into that mix with St. Joe's, Peters, and Bergen. And, they're a scary team. They really are. And they play solid defense. So Bosco right now is certainly on the upswing.
No rest for the weary either. DePaul gets Bergen Catholic this week. And again, it's part of what we've talked over the years here on this show is best on best every week, and it's rough. That schedule is rough, and who's the most healthy is just as important as who's the most talented heading on to the state playoffs in the non-publics in both Group 3 and Group 4. And Jimmy, I have to give you credit because you have seen Bosco coming for the last few weeks here, and you've been all over it. You said they were good. You said they were getting better, and they really opened some eyes this week.
Yeah, skill-wise, probably the best set of running backs. You want to put St. Joe's in that category also, but when you go into DePaul and put up 550 yards of rushing, I mean, that's certainly an eye-opener. And their defense, as I said, has been solid. It's kept them in every game. They have an outstanding kicking game with their kicker Fava. So, I mean, if they can continue to get better in the next couple of weeks, they're going to be a tough out. There's no question about that.
Yep. At Paramus Catholic this weekend to close their regular season slate. All right, Bri, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think Don Bosco is really scary in that Group 4. So it's going to be like it's been every week. There's been a new number one. I mean, we're going to see a pretty competitive game on Saturday as well. You've got St. Peter's traveling up to Joe's, both in the same Group 4. So we'll get a preview there of what those two teams have, and who knows who's going to be at the end once we get to the playoffs. But that should be an exciting game, competitive. Both teams are up on the top levels in that non-public 4. Other things I noticed, I saw Westwood had a nice win last week. They had a dominating win over Pascack Hills, and then they came back after a little bit of a tough competitive game against Mawa. And next week they play Demarest. Should be a tough game for them this week coming up against Demarest. My Huskies, sad to say, had played a very difficult Lakeland team, Group 3.
Yep.
Dumont Huskies fell 33-14. Lakeland's got a 100-yard rusher over there. So they're a team. They've only had one loss. I think they lost 33-32 to West Milford, their only loss of the season. So they're a very strong team. Lakeland, you're going to watch them in Group 3. Ramapo's continue to roll. They're getting ready for a big game coming up against Randolph. Luke Ragone continue to have a very strong game. But now they go and they're going to be playing, one more tough game against Randolph before they get to the playoffs. Randolph being 8-0, Group 3. So that's going to be a very difficult test for them, but it's at home. So that should be interesting for Ramapo. Ramapo, as people say, probably has one of the toughest schedules in the state of a public school.
Yes, and Ramapo, the option was there to play 8 or 9 regular season games this year. Ramapo is playing the full 9. And I don't know, if they dropped one, I'm just looking at their schedule, the one that seems to be the extra would be Randolph. So they're taking this game against, not a Group 3, but a Group 4, Bri, a very talented Group 4.
Group 4, right,
yep,
right.
Yep. Going into the playoffs, really tested themselves, and they're just going for it. They've had the pedal to the metal since they opened the season, week 1 on the grass in Sparta, and really have not had what you would call a layup, very many at all year long. So Ramapo taking on all comers and looking to try to carry this thing right through to the state playoffs. I give them a ton of credit for doing just that. What else you got, Bri? Or Jimmy, I'm sorry.
Jimmy?
Yeah, guys, you got to mention Paramus. Big win going into Riverdale, coming out 20-13. You don't often go into Riverdale and come out with a victory. Paramus has had some very good wins. Big win over Mawa, big win over Ridgewood, and we've been waiting for that one that we could finally anoint them and say, hey, they're for real. I mean, 20-13 over a very good Riverdale team. Quarterback Trevor Bopp, 2 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown. And the amazing thing is Paramus forces 5 Riverdale turnovers. That doesn't happen to Riverdale that often. So, kudos to Joey Sabella, Coach Sabella. Paramus clinched the division title. And as you mentioned before, they could either be a number 1 seed in North 2 or, a 2 or a 3 in North 1. But they are certainly a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, we've been asking all year, how good are they? Are they good enough to just beat everybody else on their schedule and be, a notch below the Rampos and Riverdales of the world? Well, they answered that this past week. They are a contender for sure. And that's probably music to your ears, Brian Carr, because you are a big Paramus fan.
Yeah, I like the Spartans. One guy you didn't mention there was Kyle Jacob. Kyle had a touchdown in that game, and He's their junior running back who really runs hard like his brother did 4 years ago. So Premise, this first time ever, they've been 8-0. They were first time 7-0, now the first time 8-0. So Premise is really stepping up, and a couple big games. They beat Ridgewood, and now they've beaten a good, very good Riverdale team who they're going to make some noise in the playoffs, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
With this, let me continue on. We have to give some shout-outs to my neighbor team, the Tenafly Tigers.
Yes.
They overcame and went overtime, beat Indian Hills 13-7. They're now 3-4 as well as Indian Hills, and it's good for them. Low numbers down there, but it's good to see that they're winning. That'll help them get more kids out. So good luck to Coach Toll over there, Peter Toll, who's the coach, and we'll, I'm sure, see them on Thanksgiving when they come to visit Duma. The other one of note I noticed.
Did you say we will see them on Thanksgiving, or you will see them?
We will see them. Me being everybody. Sam Bruno and I will see them.
Yeah.
The one other one that caught my eye is Passaic Valley.
Yep.
Passaic Valley, who beat Eastside. A pretty big win, 46-12. They're now 3-4, but they have a really big game coming up. Probably going to make a difference whether or not they make the playoffs. They play a good West Milford team at home, so that should be a good game for them. They won 46-12 over Eastside. So good luck to Coach over there, Chet.
Chet Porlavecchio. Yep.
Yeah.
The one, and if you, I'll turn it back over to you guys if I'm missing anything. But the one subject I want to touch on is that it's interesting because Passaic Valley doesn't have lights, Bergenfield doesn't have lights. Old Japan needs that 8th game to, so I don't know. This is another unknown. What happens if games get washed out on Saturday? Especially both Passaic Valley and Bergenfield are grass tracks. I guess they're just going to have to play, and if the games get pushed. If there's no lightning or whatever and you can't play on Saturday in a mud bowl, that's fine. Or if the games get pushed to Sunday, but then you're putting teams at a disadvantage with one less day of preparation before the state playoffs start.
Yeah, there used to be a caveat in the rules that the games had to be played and completed by Sunday. So that's going to be interesting. Would you, if you're Bergenfield, would you say, hey, listen, we'll give up the home game and go on the turf? Some things to think about, and obviously with the weather forecast for Saturday, a lot of things to think about, certainly.
Yeah, but why would Bergenfield give up the home game? Because they're fighting for a playoff spot themselves. They win, they're in. They lose, they're probably out.
Exactly. Do you say, hey, we'll play by you this year, and then next year flip it?
Maybe.
There's certainly, there are a bunch of options there. Would you rather maybe flip it and guarantee yourself the game, or would you did you sit there and not play till Sunday or Monday, and it hurts you? So, certainly you never want to give a home game up, but, under certain circumstances, you might have to think about it.
All right, I agree. What else? Anything else, Bri?
Yeah, I just want to mention Kennedy.
Yes, another good one.
Kennedy's been going under the radar. They go to Ridgewood. They play Ridgewood at home at Valley Field. They're down. They score early to take the lead. Ridgewood comes back and seems to have the game in control. Here comes Kennedy. They take a lead deep into the fourth quarter, and they succumb with about 30 seconds left. But that was certainly an eye-opener to me. Anytime you can go and go toe-to-toe with a Ridgewood, that's a very, very good situation for Kennedy, and maybe they can make some noise in that section. It's not a super talented section, so maybe maybe Kennedy could be a surprise in that section.
Absolutely. Bri, you got the last word. You got one?
Yeah, and I noticed that one too. We were following that game late when we were coming back. We went to the Verona Cedar Grove game, which is pretty good. But we were following that, and Kennedy had late. It was like 3 minutes to go. They scored, and Ridgewood ended up scoring with 1 minute to go and to go ahead. One other comment I'll mention: really good Verona team we saw. They've got some skill. The Ruggiero brothers. They have a senior and a sophomore. They can run the ball. They were able to get outside on Cedar Grove, and they scored 21 unanswered points in the second half to really stretch out a close game. in the second half. In like 6 minutes, they scored 3 touchdowns. Just run. But Verona's going to make some noise. They're in that in the Group 2 bracket. Cedar Grove is in the Group 1, so it's going to be so that's going to be, they're going to be playoff contenders. But Verona looked really good. I was very impressed with Verona's running game and defense, and they shut down a good Cedar Grove team that had some good offensive players.
You know the show is over when we start talking about teams that I don't know where they are. We'll see you next week on The Football Show.
Follow the leader.